Today, we're going to go through the franchise disclosure document. This is the document that every franchise is required to have by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and there's numerous states that require registration. We've gone through at Vetted Biz 10,000 plus franchise disclosure documents, mine that data, analyze that data. I've personally gone through over 1,000 franchise disclosure documents. I'm not an attorney. I look at it from a business and risk standpoint. So I'm going to focus on that aspect today. You definitely need a franchise attorney if you're going to buy a franchise, sign a franchise agreement. Get a franchise attorney. It's worth it. View it as an insurance policy because it can cost you big in the long run. So the franchise disclosure documents divided in 23 categories, labeled as items. Typically, the most important items to analyze are items 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 19, 20, 21, 23. So we're going to go through in today's video pretty quickly, and we'll include some resources in the show notes on these different items of the franchise disclosure document. So the first three I'm going to go through together: business experience, litigation, and bankruptcy. Those are items 2 to 4. A lot of information there on the experience of the executive team of the franchise. I like to also supplement what's in the franchise disclosure document with Google, looking on the first 5, 6, 7 pages, Googling the principals, CEO, leadership. On the litigation side, they're required to disclose some litigation against the franchise brand, but not everything. So supplement that with a little Google search, as well as you can also hire a third-party firm, due diligence firm, to do a more thorough search. But adding litigation, lawsuit, dispute with the names of the executives, names of the brand, the parent company, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes it takes you, you can really uncover some red flags there to see if it's worth your attention continuing to explore that franchise concept. One example was Nestle Toll House Cafe, a franchise system that Fat Brands, publicly traded company, recently acquired and rebranded, where there was a lawsuit with Crest Foods. The owner of Nestle Toll House Cafe was sued by Nestle USA in 2016 over the use of their name and trademark. So if the brand you're buying into is Nestle Toll House Cafe, and it's like buying a Haagen-Dazs or a Ben & Jerry's franchise, Dippin' Dots franchise, it's all about the brand, and you bought this franchise system and then a year later, the franchisor doesn't own that trademark anymore, that's a huge issue. And you don't want to be entering a system where that can be the case. Nestle USA claimed Nestle Toll House Cafe's franchise went too far in its use of marks, including which one of their executives went on CBS's Undercover Boss and pretended to be a Nestle executive, not a Nestle Toll House Cafe executive. Although they're using the brand in the United States, it's a very different company with different operations, and the Swiss arm of Nestle did not like how they were mixing the brands together. Items 6 and 7, initial costs, ongoing costs. You go through the franchise disclosure document. You can also check out vettedbiz.com. We make it easier for you mining a lot of the data from the items 6 and 7. So all different types of fees, either one-time, ongoing fees. Then it's good to know how the franchisor is making money. So for example, Anytime Fitness, they have over 2,300 locations in the US. The franchisor earns over $200,000 before you open up, as you have to buy a lot of the initial startup equipment from them directly. Same case with F45. I think it's $250,000, including the franchise fee, equipment, et cetera. It goes to them before you make any money, before you even open up your gym. So that's things to be aware of and to better understand how the franchisor makes money. Going into item goods and services, rebates. Is the franchisor getting any rebates? How can you get your goods and services? They're required to disclose the restrictions on purchasing goods, services, supplies from specific suppliers or directly from the franchisor, as well as if they're receiving rebates. So you better understand how the franchisor is making money on you, the franchisee. And then item 9 contains renewal rights, non-compete, confidentiality requirements, termination rights, legal forum selection provisions. A lot of changes going on in 2023 with the FTC trying to fight against non-competes for employees across the United States. Will that extend into franchising? We'll stay tuned to that and keep track. So the renewal rights, transfer rights, all that's important. It's in the item 19 because the resale value is going to be affected by it. So if there's a huge transfer fee, if there's a lot of restriction when you go to sell the franchise, it's going to reduce the value in what you earn as the franchisee. And again, I don't mean to bash too hard on F45. I just recently went through their franchise disclosure document. They keep the transfer fee cost language pretty vague, where there's a set fee and they can add on legal and accounting fees, which could easily surpass another $10,000. Item 12 contains details on the exclusivity of the franchisee's territory. This is one of the key terms that is open to negotiation in most franchise systems. You can paint a roadmap to the franchisor, how you're going to expand and asking for rights of first refusal in adjacent territories. So you don't necessarily have to buy a 3-pack, 4-pack, 5-pack of some franchise system. You can negotiate right of first refusal. So you have the right to open up an adjacent territory. Not all franchises are saying yes, but it's worth asking. Item 19 discloses financial performance representations. Generally, it's going to be for franchisees operating for over 12 months, taking out the initial ramp-up period. But less than 60% of franchises even disclose any financials in the item 19, as they're not required by the Federal Trade Commission, but about 60% of franchisors will at least disclose the gross revenue figures of the majority of their franchises. And then 25% are going to include operating costs, EBITDA, a lot of the bottom line figures of how much money you're going to make as the franchise owner, not just the top line, those vanity metrics, which are important, but ideally they have the whole picture. And again, 25% of franchises show you the whole picture. The other ones make it hard, where you got to vet that information and verify that information with existing franchisees. Next up, item 20 discloses a list of franchise outlets. So franchise failures, terminations, non-renewals, franchises cease operations for other reasons. All these metrics are accessible in that item 20. Vetted Biz, we make it easier. We take out all the data for you. We compare, we analyze it. So if you don't want to be digging through franchise disclosure documents, you can go to Vetted Biz and you can always download the franchise disclosure document to dive into the details. But we make it easy to take out the item 20 openings, closures for you. Essentially, you can see if the franchise system has a net unit growth or a net loss in locations. So take 2021, for instance, Subway had a net loss of 1,500 restaurants in a single year. So item 20, important to see how the system's performing. Are they opening more locations than they're closing? Item 21 discloses the income statement, cash flow, and balance sheet of the franchisor for the last few years. So it's pretty good to see how the franchisor is making money. Are they making most of their money from franchise fees, or making most of the money selling products to you, or on the royalty? I like to see that they're making most of the money from the royalty, ideally. You can see the balance sheet, the debt that they have, how financially stable is the franchisor, the parent company of the franchise brand, to support you. Because remember, it's going to be a 10, 20, even a 30-year contract that you're signing for a franchise. So the franchise brand should be around to support you, and ideally you're all growing together with other franchisees in your system. But it's really important that that parent company is financially stable. If the parent company of the franchise brand's publicly traded, so say McDonald's, Wendy's, there's a lot more information. However, 95% plus of franchises are still privately owned, not traded on the stock market, but you do have 50 plus franchise brands that their parent company or the brand itself, Wendy's, for example, is traded on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. So you have a lot more financial information there. Item franchise agreement and other documents you sign. So list all the legal agreements, the main franchise agreement, also lease, options, financing agreements, and purchase agreements may also apply in that section of item 22. So there you have it, the franchise disclosure document debunked. Again, you need a franchise attorney. I go and look at it from a risk perspective. I'm not an attorney. I want to see the system, if it's making money, is it growing, going down, what you're getting yourself into when you go and sign that franchise agreement, whether you're opening a new one or you're going with a franchise resale.